Whenever you see NXT superstars move to the main roster, you always feel like a proud parent that's just seen your son or daughter graduate from high school and about to go off into the big wide world of sports entertainment. And of course, when they go to Raw and SmackDown, they're under the guidance of Vince McMahon. And we've seen previously many superstars succeed that have gone from NXT, the likes of Roman Reigns, the likes of Seth Rollins, but we've also seen others that have not succeeded as well. Some superstars have looked like they were going towards the main event before having the rug pulled beneath them, some have been stuck in mid-card fodder, and some have just disappeared from TV immediately and gone straight to catering. I think some superstars would benefit going back to NXT if they're stuck in catering or not being used on Raw or SmackDown, no creative direction, then perhaps a move back to Wednesday nights is just the thing for them. They could bolster the NXT roster, in fact maybe even having a great position on the card themselves and going against AEW. So without further ado, here are 5 superstars I believe that should go back to NXT from WWE. First off is Aleister Black. After moving to SmackDown in the WWE draft, Aleister Black has gone missing off of WWE TV completely. Also, his real-life wife, Zelina Vega, is no longer with the company, and Aleister Black also had quite a dodgy heel turn in the summer of 2020. It feels like Aleister Black at the moment, there could be some sense of unhappiness in WWE, and perhaps it could be better to look back to the past than rather the future. Aleister Black was a big success in NXT and a former NXT champion, having some great successful matches, having the likes of Andrade, Adam Cole and more. I personally would love to see Aleister Black go back to NXT. I think he would be a great benefit to the company and could have some great Mega Dream matches along the way. Let's not forget he's had some great matches with certain talents that are already in NXT. And there's also some new, fresh, compelling opponents that we could see Aleister Black face as well. We've got a couple of dream matches in mind as well. How about against the Prince? A demon like Finn Balor against the Fate of Black, Aleister Black. Certainly for me, I think there'll be a mouth-watering clash for the NXT Championship. And I also would like to see Aleister Black go in a mega program against Karrion Kross. Definitely think these two could be a big money match if booked somewhere further down the line. Triple H and NXT just got Aleister Black. They knew how to book him. They knew how to use his, unique image and look and in-ring style to actually really get over with the NXT audience. And it just feels like Vince McMahon just hasn't quite understood what Aleister Black represents and is arguably faded to black since going up to WWE's main roster. Number 2, Andrade. Andrade is another one of those talents that you think is potentially got all the tools to be a big top star within the company. A great Hispanic star who WWE were hoping would take over the mantelpiece of the all-time great of Rey Mysterio. Unfortunately, hasn't quite worked out for Andrade. Of course, his lack of speaking English probably doesn't help in this scenario, and Vince McMahon sadly seems to have given up on him. He did have a good, lengthy run as United States champion, but has been missing off TV for months and seemed to be on a losing streak for the summer when paired in a tag team with Angel Garza. The question is how you would bring Andrade back to TV. Now, if you brought him to Raw, then some may suggest that maybe he could actually be aligned with his real-life partner Charlotte Flair. But for the process of this, I think he'd be great to be used in NXT. Again, some many dream matches are on the table for him to go back to, but also there's a great little spot in a stable that I think he would suit really, really well, and that is Legado del Fantasma. Santos Escobar is the leader of this group, and of course it has Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza along the ranks. Wilde and Mendoza are very usual to do the dirty work, but usually fall short in a lot of the efforts. Escobar could do with one other superstar that could be, if you want, the big heavy of the group, someone to make sure that he takes care of all the dirty work. Santos Escobar could also be the mouthpiece for Andrade, helping that language barrier that we've got, and Andrade, instead of being around the Cruiserweight Championship, could actually be going back into the NXT Championship picture, of course, which he has firmly held that belt before. Number 3, Ricochet. Ricochet is a top high flyer in WWE and a former NXT North American champion. Again, has gone to the main roster, and there seems such promise at the start for Ricochet. In fact, even to a point he got himself a WWE Championship match at the Saudi Arabia show Super Showdown in February 2020. Unfortunately, during that potential build-up, it seemed that Vince McMahon had given up on Ricochet and he was squashed by Brock Lesnar in 1 minute and 40 seconds and seemingly hasn't recovered since. Ricochet spent a lot of his time on the Raw brand on main event, or when he is featured on Monday Night Raw, is losing in a matter of minutes against certain superstars like AJ Styles, Mustafa Ali and many, many more. Ricochet could really benefit going back to Wednesday nights, and he really does have that standout factor, his high flying ability. Ricochet is almost presented like a superhero and has had many great matches in his takeover time in NXT. You only have to look back at his match with Adam Cole back at NXT Brooklyn and what great matches he could have upon return now. There are many great new opponents he could be facing, and some other opponents who were there before who maybe have different personalities to what they do now. Could you imagine Ricochet going up against Johnny Gargano right now? What an amazing takeover match that potentially could be, and it would fit Ricochet so perfectly to go back into the North American Championship picture. He certainly can have some great matches. He could even flirt with the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. He does fit the weight class, and I think he would be a great asset on Wednesday nights going up against AEW. Number 4 is Kalisto. Now, of course, Kalisto was formerly part of Lucha House Party, and of course was one of the OGs in NXT. Had been there many, many years ago, coming up to the main roster of WWE in 2015, believe it or not. Kalisto's had quite a successful run on the main brand, but of course in recent times has kind of been the backup to Lucha House Party, and they all were split in the last WWE draft, with Kalisto remaining on SmackDown and Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik going over to Raw. They had been teasing a breakup for a while as well, and we never really quite got the payoff. Kalisto since has been really used in catering. He's not really been featuring on WWE TV at all. He did have a brief moment backstage, of course, in the segment where Sasha Banks was around, but he hasn't done anything more, certainly anything of worthy note, for a very long time. I personally would like to see Kalisto come back to NXT. I think he's a great cruiserweight athlete. He's fantastic in the ring, definitely has ability to have 5-star matches, and I'd like to see a great story with him and Santos Escobar. I think those two together can have a great match going over their Mexican heritage and the importance of wearing a mask. Let's not forget that Phantasma actually debuted in WWE with the mask and then actually took it off after winning the Cruiserweight Championship, revealing himself to be the new character of Santos Escobar going forward, kind of almost going against what the heritage was that he'd been holding in his character and his wrestling career 20 years previously. That feud against Kalisto for me would be a lot of fun to watch, and I do think Kalisto could bring a lot to the Wednesday night brand, and I certainly believe that he would get more ring time, more time to have storylines, and I think personally he could be a future Cruiserweight champion if he was to go to NXT. Last but not least is a controversial one, but I'm going to go for it anyway, is Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, of course, Nakamura is one of the GOATs when you look back at NXT. Triple H just knew how to book him right. He was almost like a silent assassin who would come to the ring, win all his matches, and of course was a 2-time NXT champion, rarely tasted defeat. He had some great matches along the way with the likes of Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and I think if he was to come back now, I think he would be someone that goes straight back into the NXT Championship picture. If you look at his time on SmackDown and Raw, the times he has been around, mainly SmackDown, he has been a tag team champion, of course, with Cesaro, and he has usually held the mid-card championship, but usually without much character or storytelling going on. Shinsuke Nakamura is a former Royal Rumble winner. It did look like he was going to succeed and go to the top of WWE on his arrival, going into a dream match scenario against AJ Styles at WrestleMania 34. Unfortunately, things weren't to quite work out. The match didn't really go to plan. The story kind of failed afterwards after an initial successful heel turn. WWE just didn't seem, or Vince McMahon perhaps, just didn't see much belief in the character, and soon after many attempts of trying to win the championship, ended up going into mid-card fodder. Things until recent just doesn't seem to have worked out for Shinsuke Nakamura, but he does seem to have had a bit of momentum coming into the start of 2021. Of course, he was very successful in the Gauntlet match and should have won that to get a championship match against Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. But since then, it seems that that spot was meant for Cesaro, and now Cesaro's re-signed with the company. The tag team has gone their own separate ways. Shinsuke, all of a sudden, seems like he's starting to get lost back on the roster once again. He is in the Intercontinental Championship picture, but unfortunately, it doesn't feel believable that he's going to be winning that belt anytime soon, especially with the main program going on between Big E and Apollo Crews. An argument could be made then that Shinsuke Nakamura, perhaps his services would be better suited back in NXT. He's a big star, of course, with great times in Japan and of course as well during his NXT run. I think that he could be potentially a game changer if booked correctly in the NXT brand, and there are certainly many great matches that I would like to see, the likes of Adam Cole, perhaps Kyle O'Reilly, and let's not mention some of the other names we've said before, and perhaps a rematch with Finn Balor, and also Karrion Kross waiting in the wings. So that's my 5 superstars I've selected. Which superstars do you think would be best suited going from Raw or SmackDown back down to NXT to help them in the Wednesday Night Wars? Let me know in the comments below right now. Do you agree or disagree with me? Please let me know, and I look forward to interacting with you. Make sure to check out my other videos on the channel as well, and of course more videos will be on the way. Please subscribe to the channel as well, hit the notifications and set the settings to all. You'll be notified each and every time a video is released. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a great day. You've been watching SCW here on YouTube.